Welcome to Cure Connections. Thank you for joining us. I'm John Hopper. I'm the president of the Fibrolamellar Cancer Foundation. I'm on the board of the National Pancreas Foundation, and I'm the co-chair of the GI Cancers Alliance. Most people have probably never heard of fibrolamellar hepatocellular carcinoma, or more familiarly called fibrolamellar. It's a very rare type of cancer. In fact, it's called an ultra-rare cancer, and it's a cancer of the liver. The cancer affects adolescents and young adults, so 12 to 35-year-olds. And actually, it's a very aggressive cancer where there's been very little research done until the formation of the Fibrolamellar Cancer Foundation. We're very fortunate today to have with us one of our key patient advocates, Tom Stockwell. And Tom, whose son Robert had fibrolamellar, was diagnosed at the age of 18. And Tom, we're very fortunate to have you here, and we want to hear more about the story of you and Robert. So welcome to Cure Connections.
Thank you, John. Great to be here.
Tom, I'd like to find out more about the initial diagnosis of Robert. What was it that you and Carrie thought Robert had? What brought you to the doctors? What were the symptoms? Bring me through that journey.
He ended up having several flu bugs through the fall. It was back in 2013. And the flu seemed to continually get worse. And by the time we reached December, he was starting to get fever, some anemia type symptoms, and he felt that he was constipated and his stomach started to distend. And so we ended up taking him to the primary care physician. It was his fourth visit in, and we ended up getting a ultrasound. And that ultrasound turned out that when they found it, it was 26 centimeter tumor that was on his liver. So we were told immediately go to the ER, get an emergency CT scan, and when that was performed, they of course confirmed that diagnosis, and they referred us out to a larger medical center.
So you went to a regional hospital?
We did. It was in Orange County. We went to that hospital. We saw a liver specialist at the time, and they ran several tests. They did a biopsy. They did, of course, MRI scans. And within less than a week, they came back with the diagnosis of fibrolamellar.
So you hear the word fibrolamellar, what goes through your mind? Have you ever heard of it before?
Never heard of it at all. It was quite a shock. And when we looked at, the potential statistics and things for it, it was quite a shock. So we really had to try and regroup from that point because we didn't know what this cancer was about.
So as you heard that and you said you had to regroup, what kind of questions did you have?
Number one, for his, it was such an advanced cancer, what can we really do? It was something that we couldn't just simply give him a systemic treatment because his cancer was so advanced. He also had disease in the right atrium of his heart. So what we had to do was reach out to as many surgeons as we could to try and resect the disease.
Right.
Of course, at that point, we had gone to UCLA, and it was again, like I had mentioned, so advanced at this stage, he went into hepatic encephalopathy.
You talk about an advanced stage, that's stage 4 is what you're talking about.
That's correct.
Is that common for fibrolamellar patients based on the type of symptoms you said Robert had, which do not sound like they're cancer symptoms?
Right.
So is that what most patients find when they go in, that they're at stage 4?
They do, and that's the hardest part of this cancer, is because there are not many warning symptoms. If you're fortunate enough to have pain, my son never had any of that type of pain that's associated. So here he has this 26 centimeter tumor growing in him with no pain, and it had all this time to spread, all during a time that you didn't really realize what's going on in the background.
Once you started to do some initial research, et cetera, What was that approach? Did you build a team? Did you do this on your own? Did you have advocates with you? What was that whole process of discovery?
We did it all on our own, and I started to search. I mean, you know, doctors tell you typically don't Google search, but that's in this type of cancer because it's so rare.
Right.
That's what I had to do. And I had to reach out to many different doctors, many different studies that I read, looked up things on PubMed, went to the NIH site, so all these different things that you do to try and figure out, okay, what are our next steps? What can we do?
And were there any of those particularly helpful to you that you would say would be, you know, the top resources that you and the family sought out?
I think there were many. Actually, even the fibrolamellar website, Facebook page, that was helpful because we were able to see stories of other patients that were in similar type situations. And so it did help quite a bit.
So social media plays a big role?
It does. I think social media, the studies, talking to the experts, it all mattered. And for Robert, he ended up having a life-saving transplant and then, you know, open heart surgery at the same time. So for him, those were the things that ultimately saved his life at that point, which then allowed us to get to the next phase of you know, trying to figure out the treatment plan.